r/ask Reddit. What are some red flags we should recognize within ourselves? Hi, we want to make sure that if anyone in this post needs help, there are resources available. There's r/suiciduatch where well-meaning and sympathetic people will try and help, but be aware they aren't trained. The Befrienders.org website is a global list of local suicide help charities. Use it to find an organization in your country. You should be able to call or email them for free and they'll speak to you and try and help you without being judgmental. Always watch for when you stop giving a duck about things that matter to you. Biggest sign of depression. I used to care about a lot of stuff and then one day I realized all my hobbies didn't appeal to me anymore. Damn. That's happening to me now. Edit. Thank you all for your brilliant suggestions and welcome advice. I read through every reply I get, but I'm sorry if I don't get back to you as I get a bit overwhelmed. I am really prone to depression sadly, and this time of year really doesn't help. Christmas does nothing for me and the lack of sunlight doesn't help. But anyway, I'll heed the general consensus of all your advice and try to get back into my old hobbies, or find new ones, and I'll definitely seek professional help if it gets to that stage. I ask for reassurance when I should just be making a decision and doing it without having someone tell me things will be okay. I was talking to a professor once about some personal problems. He nodded his head every way I told the story. Open bracket. I told it probably 6 different ways. He looked at me and said, "I'm not going to give you the validation you're looking for. You know how you want the outcome to be, and now you need to act on it." My mind was blown. And I've always thought about reassurance validation way differently. Edit. Proud to say my top comment now is about great life advice. This was me for many years as well, until some friends said to be well, it wouldn't be X if he wasn't complaining. It completely shook me to my core. I had no idea people saw me that way. I thought I was just vocalizing very real frustrations. But to everyone else, I was constantly complaining and not taking real action. Which was true. It was a big eye-opening moment for me. But I was raised in a family of complainers. So it's taken a long time to break the habit. I still struggle with it, but it has made a big impact on the way I view myself and others view me. If you notice your mood is greatly dependent on the attitude of someone else, especially in relationships, it can be very toxic in the long term. But how to fix? You have to reorient how you evaluate your personal success and self-worth. Start measuring yourself by criteria that are under your control, not other people's. Set some realistic goals and assess how hard you're working to meet them. For example, rather than "does Karen like me?" try "have I treated Karen with respect and consideration today?" Rather than "do people think I'm fat?" try "did I overeat today?" Rather than "is dad proud of my career?" try "am I supporting myself with my job?" This way, even if you're failing those goals now, you can always try again and you will always have the power to accomplish them. Once you do start accomplishing them, your self-worth will go up immensely, and it won't depend on anyone's actions but your own. Edit. For anyone wanting to dig deeper into this, I recommend The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Duck. It's a whole book based on this exact concept. Learn your biases and be most suspicious of yourself when you want to disbelieve something instantly, without really thinking about it. Yep, I had to do this with relationships. I had a habit of getting attracted to, well, women with issues. Taught myself to not chase people I felt that initial attraction to. Has worked out quite well for me. When you stop engaging in your activities of daily living, you stop showering regularly. Don't engage in hygiene. Don't brush your teeth. Don't eat anything nutritious. Edit. The important thing here is to notice that there was a change. If this is how you've always been, then maybe that's an aspect of you. But if there was a change when you stop engaging in these activities, then you might want to get help. Just because you can't see the way out doesn't mean there isn't one. The fact you took the time and effort to type out your comment tells me that the fire burning inside you hasn't died out yet. Don't give up. This has been me for a couple of months now. I haven't brushed my teeth in forever, but I do still take showers since I haven't, so that helps me by telling me to do so. I'm mostly eating crap, chocolate and deep fried food. Working at a fast food place isn't helping. I'm just so ducking stressed about everything. With Christmas coming up, living far away from my family and hating my job with endless overtime. Help me. Edit. I'm getting a lot of comments centered around being a guy, which I am not. I know. No girls on the internet and all that, but I really am a girl. When your only way of striking up conversations is by complaining about shit in your life, that is unhealthy as duck. Oh number. How do I fix myself from this? Once you realize it and accept it, you just gotta be self-aware and work on it. That type of complaining is a downward spiral. You drag yourself and everyone around you down. Focus on the good stuff. If you say last one more than a time or two about absolutely anything. Just one more turn in r/Civ. I played this game literally one time. Had gotten Civ 5 on a Steam sale and one day decided to try it out. The next morning at 5 AM I was still playing it and had to work that day. I have no idea how it happened, but I don't want to do it ever again. When I'm doing well, but when someone touches a nerve and I get upset, chances are I'm probably not going as fine as I've led myself to believe. Also, along that same line, getting defensive about something means you probably aren't very secure about your relationship with whatever that thing is. This can be true, but I'd stress the probably in that statement. I think often people can run the risk of assuming insecurity, or even guilt, in the case of an accusation, when someone may simply just not be a confident person, in general, or maybe they are just easily flustered and weren't prepared to have to defend themselves all of a sudden. There are a number of reasons someone might be defensive that don't necessarily relate to the thing that they are defending. Open bracket. Flashbacks to knowing 100% when my little brothers stole from me because they were so adamant that they hadn't. If nothing is your fault and everyone is ducking you over constantly, it may be your fault and you're the one ducking everyone over. It's really hard to see this sometimes too. Taking a step back is really hard sometimes. I struggle with this a lot. My biggest problem is not being able to see where I went wrong. I always feel like I'm being taken for granted, or lied to or mistreated by almost everyone. I realize that it's probably me, but I can't see what I'm doing wrong. If you're unpleasant to your loved ones while waiting for a text message from your crush partner, but pleasant to them as soon as you receive that text, that's a huge red flag. In other words, unhealthy love makes you abandon the world for one person. Healthy love makes you see the world in a brighter light, and you'll be kinder to those around you. Edit. Thanks for the gold. It's my 6th day, and I hope this was a wake-up call for those who needed it. I see this shit all the time. People getting all pissed off because someone hasn't texted them back and going around being an a-hole. Your whole life doesn't revolve around your love life, and that could be the reason they are not texting back. The modern day obsession with texting and constant communication can be really draining. I hate it and don't want to be in constant communication, but most people around the age of 20 need to be constantly texting. Nobody was texting each other 24/7 20-30 years ago and they were fine. Open bracket. Edit. This statement was a little hyperbolic. What I meant was that relationships still happened and went on without phones. Makes for unhealthy relationships, If you are constantly frustrated that no one understands you, then you probably aren't communicating effectively. Don't assume anyone knows your intentions or thoughts. Try to see the world through a third-party view with none of your internal dialogue. Yay. Especially in text, it's so critical that you read what you're typing out, and seeing the different ways what you're saying can mean given different tones. Shying away from common phrases and trying to come up with different ways to say something goes a long way. An example would be, I really wish I had X in my life. It would fix a lot of problems. Why don't you just make it? Then, you could have intended that in a legit curious way, as in what's stopping you? Do you need help? But, without tone, you can easily come across as, well, why don't you just do it? Are you dumb or something? A great way to have responded that can avoid that is just wording it differently. I really wish I had X in my life. It would fix a lot of problems. Oh, is that something you can make? Does it require help or materials that you don't have? Can I get involved? World of difference. I am struggling with this with my husband. It gets very complicated when you know that the other person struggles with effective communication. We've discussed multiple times how it's difficult for me to feel heard because he grew up in a household where active listening doesn't exist. They interrupt constantly and lovingly. He's so much better now, but I still struggle. So to add to your point, don't let the other person's deficiency take all the blame. If you know the person you're talking to isn't a great listener, that doesn't mean your communication is perfect and it's their fault. Maybe your communication is also lacking. We all have flaws. If everyone but you is at fault, take a second and think about how your actions may have contributed to the problem. Not to say you are 100% only a fault, but the saying applies. If it smells like crap everywhere you go, check your shoes. This could apply to relationships. All my exes are crazy. Work. Every job I've had. I hate my boss. Or friendships. My friends always disappear after a while. It's unlikely that the problem is always someone else's fault. Edit. THX for the gold, mate. You could also say the opposite of this. Feeling at fault for everything is a red flag. It can be such a subtle feeling. For example, thinking a conversation between you and an acquaintance was awkward or didn't end well because you said something wrong or you are awkward. It seems small, but when you apply that filter to everything in life it becomes toxic. I only recently realized I do this and that the feeling I've done something wrong had turned into there is something wrong with me. That kind of pervasive negativity kills your spirit. Very well said. Negative anticipation can easily turn every negative experience into a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you start needing excessive pleasure and happiness, it's because you are depressed. Perhaps you aren't able to cope with the daily stress of life, or maybe something traumatic happened. For example, my dad died and I just started buying cars. I bought 3 cars in 1 year in cash to fight the grief, pain and sadness of losing my pops. Edit. Thanks for the gold and all the beautiful comments. I appreciate it. Mom's been gone for barely a year now. We've spent $5,000 on clothes and $2,000 on makeup since. I feel you. Whoa. I never connected my depression and my excessive fun and pleasure seeking. That actually makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Sometimes the traits in others that annoy us the most are attributes we have within ourselves that we, at least subconsciously, wish to change. But we are also good at ignoring these issues within ourselves. I don't ignore it. I'll change it tomorrow though. Today I'm kind of too busy tired. When all your relationships don't go anywhere, if you see red flags in your SOS here and there, that's natural. If everyone repeatedly has red flags, you should look at your glasses. See, this frightens the hell out of me. All of my relationships have been very unsuccessful, but everyone I know suggests that I'm just unlucky. I'm concerned that I've got some bad personality trait that's screwing everything up. Edit. Holy shit, this is by and large my most upvoted comment. You may have accidentally set up an a-hole filter for yourself. To summarize briefly, an a-hole filter happens when you publicly promulgate a straightened contact boundary and then don't enforce it. Or worse, reward the people who transgress it. For instance, if you respond to flirting by playing hard to get or flirting with other people to arouse jealousy, you're inadvertently turning away healthy partners who respect your signaled lack of interest by leaving you alone, resulting in your dating pool being composed solely of aggressive people who may disrespect your boundaries or are overly jealous. Take time to self-reflect and consider going to therapy if this dating problem is as serious as you make it sound. Best of luck. I try to stop pretending I'll live in a movie, e.g., getting the girl in the perfect way, getting the perfect job, scoring the game-winning touchdown. Holding yourself up to standards found in Hollywood will likely cause upset. I remember finishing school and knowing that I was going to graduate with a good degree, get a great job and have a husband and 3 kids by 25. Because that's the dream, etc. I'm 31. I am back at uni. Did get a degree but not a career. I am engaged but no kids. Life is not as easy as the movies makes it out, but it can still be good. Thanks for sharing. I don't mean I find pleasure in your situation, although it's reassuring that my life doesn't need to turn out as perfectly as I want or as others want. Being afraid to ask for help. I usually just end up avoiding the task then. It makes me physically sick when I have to ask for help with personal things. It's like a mini panic attack mixed with my guts being 2 steps behind me. It took about everything I had to ask a friend to give me a ride when my car was at the mechanics. He said he couldn't. He had his newborn and didn't have the car seat. I spent the next week kicking myself for not just getting an Uber instead of asking. I'm the same way. Thanks to my mom. Growing up, she drilled it into my head to never ask for help, because then you will owe them something, and that's apparently a fate worse than death. If you compulsively destroy all your romantic relationships just to stop worrying whether they'll reject you at some point, you might have an anxiety problem and should see someone. Edit. Some confusion on who you should see. I was implying you should see a therapist. Now, I know for everyone, including myself, this is not possible to do right now, because this post is like the blind leading the blind. I wish everyone good luck. We're all just doing the best we can in the end. Joke's on you. My fear of rejection has kept me from having any relationships in the first place. Same here. Apparently I immediately put a big barrier up around guys. Never even noticed. Personally temper. Realize that if the people around you are constantly making you angry, chances are that they are not the main issue. Obviously this won't be the case for everyone, but it certainly is for me. I'm spending more time thinking through my responses these days rather than just snapping back at people that probably don't deserve to be snapped at. Good for you. That's a hard habit to get out of. My best friend has had failed relationship after failed relationship. I love her deeply, but she brings most of her grief on herself. Her quick temper and lack of a verbal filter has always gotten her into hot water. She finally asked, what if it's me and not them? That's a huge step. Hopefully she keeps working in the right direction. I hope you do too. My problem is that I am angry when I'm sad. If you've been saying it's only temporary for a couple years, it's real easy to get stuck in a rut and distract yourself with some far off plans. Always have something you could be working on that directly contributes to your goals. I think I needed to hear this right now. Thanks. If you are ready and willing to sacrifice your happiness, your health, your whole life for the people you love, maybe it's not because you're such a selfless and righteous guy. Maybe it's because you have some issues about your self-worth you should work through. But what if we derive our self-worth from being good to other people, your worth is inherent. I have anxiety and very often I would do little things to make life easier for others, to try and justify my presence. It's actually awful. Learn to love yourself. Keeping a tally of how your loved ones have wronged you and using it in arguments later. You don't need a piece of paper if you have a good memory. Taps head. This guy grudges. My biggest red flags are my thoughts that if I do or say something stupid while drinking, that I 100% mean to say, I can just later blame it on drinking. Winner. I have done this. Do not do this. It makes you look not only weak, but also like you have a problem, and you use alcohol as an excuse to do dumb shit. If you start owning up to your bullshit, it'll make you really think about yourself. Always do sober what you said you'd do drunk. That will teach you to keep your mouth shut. Ernest Hemingway. Continuously making last-minute excuses for yourself. Before you know it, a year has gone by and you've done absolutely nothing. Attribution error. We succumb to this with such regularity. Example, we assume the guy that just cut us off is a donghead of a driver who doesn't care about the safety of those around him. We don't assume that he just got a call at the office that his toddler has been rushed to the hospital. We tend to assume the worst in others, while believing the best in ourselves. On the reverse side of irritating driving, we assume that the slow driver ahead of us is elderly, overly cautious to the point of being dangerous, or simply retarded, oblivious to traffic patterns. We never assume they are transporting a vehicle full of rare antiques or a full fish tank. That's fine as long as they're not the passing lane. Please note the edit below when you find yourself trying to avoid social contact, even with the people you like, and finding excuses so you don't have to talk to people. Edit 3. Since there have been some issues with the vagueness of this comment, I mean a situation where you realize that you have slowly been losing grasp on your life. If you're simply not a people person, or you need a break after a tough day, there's nothing wrong with that. Edit. I'm sad to see how many people are affected by this. please try to talk to someone about it. I know it's hard, but it's the first step to feeling better. If you don't have anyone you feel comfortable talking to, there are also help hotlines. If you want more information, the following subreddits might help you. There are probably more. If anyone has some good information, please feel free to add r/depression r/depression helper/suicide watch if things get that far. Suicide hotlines are also a great way to get help. Thanks. u/yoggedspirit. The suicide hotline is superb if you're ever feeling really down. I've called a handful of times, and each time they've been unfailingly supportive and helpful. I wish all of you the best. Hopefully, you will find the strength to talk to someone about this and feel better soon. Just remembered Mincheck, based in Canada, but that should only matter for the hotline numbers. They link an online chat as well, though. They have screening tests for you and information about the topic for friends and family of those afflicted. The site was created after the suicide of NHL player Rick Ripien, with the goal of raising awareness about mental illness. The tests are very rudimentary, but they might be a first step. More detailed ones can likely be found in the specific subreddits. The relevant one here is likely the second one. Edit 2. Thanks to everyone who opened up, and to everyone trying to help. You guys are awesome. Thanks for the gold. Kind stranger. Any tips on how to fight this? Talk to someone you trust. Open up about your problems. If that doesn't help, call a depression hotline or talk to a psychologist. Best to take action before things spiral out of control. Edit. Disclaimer. I'm not a medical professional. Using life's difficulties as a crutch for 1. Never doing anything, or 2. Hurting others. Depression, anxiety suck. They really do. But they are not a free pass to hurt your friends and family under the excuse of "but I'm sick." Examples. Only talking about yourself and not listening to other people's problems. Expecting others to drop what they're doing and care for you. Expecting friends and family to help you, then lashing out at them that they didn't help you correctly, etc. etc. Edited to add, since several people are sharing their thoughts about currently suffering from depression mental health issues, I encourage you to talk with someone. Despite the original post, it is still a good thing to go to family, close friends and ask for help. There is a big difference between going to someone when you need to versus abusing someone's compassion. Don't hesitate to ask for help when you need it. If there's no one in your life you can go to, there is a depression hotline and a suicide hotline. Dwelling on past events that are completely irrelevant to your current existence. Isolating and pushing people away. I'm trying to fix this myself, RN. If there are people that care about me, I do something really shitty to have them make the choice that they don't want to be near me. Letting people in is fine and normal. But when people ask me, "How are you?" I totally have no idea what to say. Trying to learn that right now, with a close friend's help. Not being able to accept kindness from others, be it compliments or gifts. Not only is it a big red flag about your self-esteem, it's very off-putting to the people you reject kindness from. Constantly oversleeping and staying up into the early hours of the morning are both signs you may be going through a depressive episode. This thread is like a magic 8-ball telling me that all signs point to yes. It could also just mean you've got an offset circadian rhythm, work later shifts, or sleep poorly because of external factors. Just because some of us sleep at odd hours despite how inconvenient that can be to others doesn't mean it's a cry for help. On a related note, introverts do not require being cured by extroverts by being thrust into situations we despise. Some of us just prefer solitude and commuting when there is zero traffic. We're not damaged. If you need constant reminders of even the simplest things, you might actually have a problem. If a night without a drink sounds like hell, you might have a problem. If you feel like you physically want to die when someone does not reply in minutes, you might have a problem. If you don't kneel before me, we will have a problem. Probably an unpopular one, especially with it being Reddit, but when you no longer do drugs to have fun high, and you start to get high for the sake of getting high. That little nagging feeling in your gut, "I'd just be happier if I wish I could just." It's right. Stop ignoring it. Edit. Okay. Holy shit Reddit. I'm suggesting that you follow your own internal compass and take concrete steps to develop good habits and find personal fulfillment. Your subconscious lets you know what makes you happy. I'm not suggesting that you should fixate on suicide, being 2 inches taller, a promotion that's out of your control, or that you should eternally chase the next best thing because you'll never be satisfied. What the duck is wrong with you guys? Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content bruh. It's free and that's a great price.